I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Tortuga Travel Backpack Pro 40 liter and the Travel Backpack Lite 40 liter. Let's dive in. There's quite a few differences between these two backpacks, starting off with the materials. So this is the large, or the original, this is their Travel Backpack Pro. This is made with their Shell 200 fabric. So this is actually 3 layers. It's kind of like an X-Pack, but essentially it's a 200D recycled polyester face fabric, and there's 45-degree recycled polyester cross-ply, and then a 70D recycled ripstop polyester backing fabric, all of which to say is that this is very, very durable, very weatherproof, very, very sturdy material. It hasn't really marked up over the course of our testing, so that's really great. Love to see that. There's like a few little tiny blemishes kind of across here, but I honestly don't really even notice them that much. Meanwhile, this Travel Backpack Lite, which is their newest version, this is a 630D Cordura ballistic nylon versus that Shell 200, which is like that sailcloth material. So both of them are pretty weather resistant. We do have, you can see like AquaGuard style zippers on the Pro, and then on this one it's just reverse coil. But even so, I don't really feel like I'm missing that sort of weatherproofness. They're still pretty durable, pretty sturdy, all that kind of stuff. So still feel really good. We also have YKK zippers on both of them. These ones are lockable, as are the ones on the Pro. So between the two of them, you get pretty similar materials, pretty similar features. A larger aspect that you're gonna get, I guess one of the larger selling points here is that weight reduction that you get with the Lite because of, you know, the Lite name. With this Pro version, we have, it's 4.5 pounds, and then you lose a full pound with the Lite. So this is only 3.5 pounds. You do really feel a significant difference between these two. Obviously, I have this one fully loaded out and the Lite is not, but that's because I'm gonna show you what's in here and then put it into the Lite version to kind of give you a scale and a scope of reference there. We also have a couple different other features on the outside. The Travel Backpack Lite has really, really crazy comfortable carry handles, while the Pro has really comfortable carry handles, but they're not quite as cushy. You can see them like side by side. There's a little bit of extra cushion on that Lite, and it just adds a little bit of extra comfort for carry if that's something, if you find yourself like, you know, feeling a little bit more uncomfortable when you're pulling things from the overhead bin. You also have the water bottle pockets, which the one on the Travel Backpack Lite has significantly more stretch. It's completely mesh, whereas the one on the Pro is just a little elastic to help it expand. The next thing we're going to look at here is the differences between the harness system. So if you look, we have these hip belts, which are just very slightly different. So they attach the same way, both attach with like that Velcro hooking. They both have nice sturdy buckles. But with the ones on the Lite, we don't have any pocket on the outside, whereas the one that comes with the Pro does have that pocket on the outside. I found this pocket to be a little bit overkill, so I didn't honestly really miss it that much. You can see that the padding is pretty similar. I would say the Lite's like, obviously it's a little bit smaller, and it's pretty similar in thickness and flexibility. So in terms of carry comfort, I didn't really feel like I was sacrificing anything by going with the lighter version, but just something to keep in mind if like the hip belt's a big selling point for you. With the Lite version as well, these straps are actually, you can unclip them and tuck them away, which is a cool feature. So this back panel opens up, or on Velcros, I guess you could say, and then you just shove these in there. They've got a nice sternum strap on them to help with adjustability. It's on a sliding rail on both of them, and then you also have load lifters. So you don't really sacrifice a ton. What you do sacrifice is with this Pro version, you can adjust the height of the harness system. So this Velcro is significantly harder to undo. So you can see me struggling a bit here. But this one here, you can see that there are, this happens to me every single time I try and undo this thing. You can see that there are little adjustment points And you really want the Velcro to be secure because when you want to stick this in place, you want it to actually stay in place. However, I did just actually literally work up a sweat doing that. So something to keep in mind, set it and forget it type thing. But you can see all those adjustment points down on that harness system, whereas the Travel Backpack Lite, you don't have that. But you do have, it's compatible for 16 to 18-inch torsos. For myself, it's 16 and it feels totally adequate. Both of these are like a little bit just long on me, which I have an issue with this with any 40-liter travel backpack, so I wouldn't really fault these too much for it. But in terms of like carry comfort in the harness system, the shoulder straps are pretty on par with each other. I would say that the Lite, if anything, feels a little bit more flexible and a little bit like softer cushioning. So I prefer that, but if you want a little bit more structure, the Pro is a good option. So this is the Travel Backpack Pro when it's on my body. You can see it's doing a pretty good job with this hip belt and the sternum strap and the load lifters, really lifting the weight off of my shoulders. So even though I have a bunch of stuff in here, it's not really overly heavy. I will say this stuff definitely feels more structured, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's nice to have a backpack that feels very solid on your back, but I personally like to have it curve a little bit more with my body, which I definitely feel is more of the case with the Travel Backpack Lite. So that's something to keep in mind if that's a feature that you like. But with that adjustability of this harness system, I think if you're somebody who really struggles to find a travel backpack that suits you, that's going to be a really great option. And then you do get that extra durability with those materials, though it does add a little bit more weight, which you do eventually feel once it's actually on your back. So here we have the Travel Backpack Lite on my back. So you can see it's pretty similar structured in like a general sense, but I definitely feel like with the Pro, I'm wearing more of a structured pack that's kind of sitting on me. With this Travel Backpack Lite, it's definitely molding to my back a little bit more. You can see it's like bending a little bit. The hip belt and the sternum strap and the shoulder strap, or the load lifters still do a really good job at lifting that weight off of me. But if you're really concerned about keeping things like locked in, then I would say the Travel Backpack Pro is a better option for you. But in terms of that adjustability with that back panel, I don't really miss that. But again, for me personally, I had to make it as small as possible on the Travel Backpack Pro anyway, so it didn't super benefit me. In this case, it's just kind of hanging out on my back. Still feels pretty comfortable and definitely feels more lightweight. If you're finding this video helpful, be sure to hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. So we're going to look at the secondary compartments all around this bag, and I'm just going to show you kind of one-to-one what they look like from the Pro version versus the Lite version. So we're going to start off with one that looks pretty similar. So we have this front pocket that's like that side zippered pocket on the Pro, and there is a matching pocket on the Lite. The only difference between these two is that this one on the Lite is, you can see obviously goes down, it stops a lot sooner, so it's not quite as long, and the pocket itself is not quite as long either. So if I flip this here and I stick my hand in here, this pocket goes from about here all the way over to the other side and then ends about here. With the Lite version, we only go to just above this little logo there, goes all the way to the other side and then ends about here. So you lose a couple of inches of space. However, I personally don't find these super like skinny pockets that unzip on the outside like vertically super functional for myself, just because I find them more functional when they're smaller, because then stuff is less likely to get stuck, like lost in here. With this, because it's so thin, I don't really have a lot of items that go in there, so for me it's not super functional, so I don't really feel like I'm missing that. It also, when you see the inside, it kind of like changes how the bag interacts, like all of the storage space sort of interacts with each other when you get it all packed out. And this is the same case here, where all of this space down here is pretty empty, so you have a lot more to work with. So that's one similar pocket. Another similar pocket we have is this top pocket. So with the 40-liter Pro, you can see in here, I'm just gonna unload stuff as I go. So I've got my phone and my wallet. And then I also have my keys in here, which there is a key leash, but I was lazy and did not put it on there. But in here, I think that's all that I had in there. Yeah, this one goes to about here. So it's not gonna get it's not gonna fall down and get really lost down super low, which is nice. And then the same is the case for this top pocket. on this Tortuga. There's the same, with the Lite, there's the same little clip, and then it's about the same length, or depth, I guess. So you do have some decent storage, but that, between those two pockets, that's like all you have on the outside for the Lite. And then you have this laptop pocket, which is about as simple as it gets. So I'm gonna let you just kind of remember what that looks like. It does have a false bottom. So the laptop pocket is actually suspended to about here, which means that your device on the inside is gonna be protected. There isn't really a super structured back panel, so your device will kind of become that back panel. I personally don't have a huge issue with that. It's just kind of up to you. But with the Travel Backpack Pro, if you look here, we've got this laptop pocket. And this one here, we also have like the top carry handles, which I talked about the side ones, but the top ones are very similar in terms of thickness. But with this laptop compartment, you can see we have a little bit more structure with like a back panel. There's just like a little bit extra of that frame sheet. And then here we have one little sleeve where I have my 13-inch laptop. And then we also have a sleeve where you can put like an extra device. So these ones here also have a nice false bottom to them. The laptop sleeve definitely, I would say like the laptop sleeve is almost at the bottom, whereas the tablet sleeve is a little bit more suspended. So if that's a concern of yours, but it feels really secure in there, so I wouldn't really worry about it that much. But you do have this additional pocket right here that you can use to put all of your tech gear in. So again, it kind of comes down to your own personal preference of like what kind of gear you like to carry and wear. Me personally, I like minimal pockets on the outside, and I'd like to customize it a bit more, but if you want more kind of organization that's decided for you, then this is going to be a good option for that. The last pocket that we have on the outside here, the Travel Backpack 40, the Pro, has an admin panel, which the Lite doesn't have at all. So again, going back to that like organization, if you like it to be more built in, then the the Pro is going to be a lot better of an option for you, whereas the Lite, like you're going to kind of have to figure it out yourself. With the Pro, you can see here, we've got like a decent amount of extra space ends up down at the bottom here. So like I end up putting an extra layer down there or maybe some extra pouches, because if you don't, you can see like this space here just ends up being a little bit flat. So in here you have some, space for cards. I have a Kindle in here. You have a zippered pocket that you can put some gear in. It goes to about here. So if you wanted, I guess if you're like traveling with more tech, then this is a good option for you, because you can kind of like between this admin panel and then the pocket here in this laptop compartment, you can definitely organize your tech gear within the actual bag itself versus bringing additional pouches. With the Backpack Lite, you'll have to bring those additional pouches. So again, up to your organization. I personally like the one without the admin panel, but that's just me. So now we're looking at the main compartment. So they both open pretty much the same way. We've got clamshell opening. So I'm gonna open up the Pro, because this, I have the Pro fully packed out with some cubes and stuff, and then I have the Lite not packed out at all, so that I can kind of transfer them over so you can see what the differences are. So right out the gate, you can see that the Pro is like one big bucket, and then another kind of big bucket, but this big bucket is actually just a zippered compartment. And then the Lite version is one big bucket, and then the zippered compartment, instead of being one big compartment, it's split out into two individual compartments. So in terms of like packing depth and all of those things that I think are really important when you're choosing a travel backpack, they are pretty much the same. So like, as I mentioned, the largest differences are going to be that material and the actual organization of it. But for the most part, in terms of like liter space and storage, you have pretty much the same amount of space. In this case, this side of the Pro, you can see I've got two cubes in there. So this is their compression cube. I'm gonna move that over here. And then here we have a DOP kit. So move that over. And then you can see in this side, you have a decent amount of depth to be able to pack this side out a lot with extra gear. So like if you wanted to use this if you want to roll a bunch of clothing in here, you could do that, or you can keep it in cubes and keep it on this more open side. It's kind of up to you how you want it organized. But you do have this whole big open space to just kind of like throw stuff in there. I personally really like it on the Travel Backpack Lite because it separates out those pockets, or it separates it into pockets, so that you're not really like like if I were to put stuff on the side with the mesh, I would really need cubes still to keep everything organized. So I need like cubes on this side, or pouches or whatever. With the Travel Backpack Lite, you can put cubes and stuff on the open side. And then if you wanted to just like shove some of your stuff in there, like an extra layer or some like hats or gloves or something like that, you definitely could put that on this side instead. So like what I would do, maybe we've got like, I don't even know if this packing cube is gonna fit in here, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so maybe the compression cube's not gonna fit in there, but let's say we have one of their lighter cubes. We'll do, or one of their smaller cubes rather. So like a small cube can go in there and then you got some extra space on top, or you can put the DOP kit like right here and then you always know where it is, or you can just throw some loose items in there. So you have a little bit more freedom to just kind of keep things loose in the Travel Backpack Lite, which I really like. But in terms of like actual depth and things like that, you still have a decent amount of depth on this side with the Travel Backpack Lite as well. So what it ends up doing is, if we take a look at the lids, I'm gonna push some stuff off to the side here, because it's fairly simple. Like you just kind of stick your stuff in there. I do notice that the sides of the Travel Backpack Lite fall down a lot easier. You can see that the Pro, like these edges are just kind of standing, you know, up nice and upright, versus the Travel Backpack Lite crunches down a little bit more. So that is where I definitely miss structure, just because it's less frustrating to pack. But in terms of like packing space, this depth is pretty even throughout on the side with the mesh. I'm gonna move that down. The side with the mesh is pretty even throughout, but as you start to pack things, you know, into this admin panel and into these front compartments, it will start to kind of butt into that a little bit. With the Travel Backpack Lite, what they ended up doing was making it so that this bottom pocket's a little bit deeper than the top pocket. So you have some extra depth because there are no front pockets that cut into this space here, because if you remember, this zippered pocket actually ends here. And if you look on the flip side of that, that zippered pocket actually ends there. So they definitely are really good. I mean, it makes sense. They're very good at smart designs with their travel backpacks. But you're gonna get a lot of similar performance out of these two. If you want something that has like really durable materials, a little bit more customizable, then you're gonna wanna go with the Pro. But if you want something that's lightweight, that you can just kind of use however you want, be a little bit more like loose with how you're organizing things in there and with cubes and things like that, and you want to save that extra weight, then the Lite is going to be definitely the better option for you. So there you have it, the Tortuga Travel Backpack Pro and Travel Backpack Lite. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.